Have you ever finished something and then you go back to look at it and you're like, well, this seems kind of off or this seems wrong and you just want to edit it? Well, that might be what today's episode is all about with today's speed build. Now, for those of you just discovering my little corner of the internet, my name is Michael and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming in Life Sims, the YouTube channel where I build worlds, lots, and share my thoughts on video games in the life simulation gaming space. And yes, welcome back to another speed build episode in my world of SimCity, and today we are indeed back in the downtown central business district, and we're actually just going next door from our last build of the science building. And today it is all about the spa and the bookstore. It is one of those rabbit hole objects that was introduced to us in Late Night that actually combines several functions in one building, and in this case it's both like a spa and a bookstore. And it's a building shell that I actually really like. In fact, I love all of the Late Night shells and rabbit holes that came with the game, and so I knew I just had to have this in here in this location just to add into that skyline. And what's funny is that like when I placed down the bookstore and spa, which is known as like Wilkie's Bookstore and Spa, if I got that right, it actually looks kind of shorter than what I remembered it. And I think it's really just because the science building is on a platform and the tallest rabbit hole building, I'm pretty sure, is just like next to that. So there's a little bit of a tapering down in terms of height for the skyline, which is interesting. But I knew that I always wanted this here anyways, just to help bulk up the skyline anyhow. So yeah, as you would have noticed in the beginning of today's episode, I just plopped down the Late Night Wilkie's Books and Bath rabbit hole and just kind of carried on doing my own thing. And the reason being for that is because I wanted to actually build out a structure that could theoretically be used by players, and that is an actual spa building. Now, the vision with this spa building is just that, like architecturally, I was looking for something a little more modern, but also had some wood elements to it. And just by being limited with the space that I am working with, I wasn't sure if I actually pulled that off at the end of the episode. But I also, in the same way, I also kind of feel that I need to build out the rest of the lots because it helps to like hide the back, which is actually like more like an alleyway. So right now that exposed alleyway just kind of looks out of place. And so that's why I'm trying to convince myself to hold off on editing this lot specifically for that spa design that I did. But yeah, a reason why I decided to actually bring in a real spa building or to construct or attempt to construct a real spa building is because there are a lot of objects that came with the Sims 3 store that actually do a lot of the functions that you would at the rabbit hole spa. So at the rabbit hole spa, you can get facials, you can get massages, you can also get spray tans there. And so I figured like because those objects actually exist, why not actually build it in a building and make them accessible in a place where it makes sense. And here it absolutely makes sense. So you actually have that option between like rabbit hole spa services and non-rabbit hole spa services. And yeah, the only thing you can't get is a facial. So that's really the only missing function from the spa services. And but yeah, you can get massages, you can do mud baths here, you can do what else can you do here? You can do a bunch of other things. Yeah, massages, mud baths. I'm missing one. Anyways, I put all those spa objects in here. Oh, spray tans, that was one I was missing. Can get spray tans, and I made sure to put the object in here as well. I mean, why not? Back to the architectural inspiration from here. What I was really going for, and I guess like maybe I'm just not great at doing modern buildings, is I really wanted the upstairs to have an overhang on the over the lower level, just to sort of provide that protection on the sidewalk. And so I kind of had to like build out the first level a little bit, and you'll see me just kind of taper it back here and there. I also struggled with the elevator placement here. The thing with elevators is that, like, I think in general I kind of fight with the elevators a little bit because I fought with the elevators quite a bit in the library build. And what makes them kind of okay, maybe this is more of a user issue than it is a gameplay thing, but but the thing about the elevators is that you have to place it exactly on top of each other. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm just like not listening to the rules on as to where it makes sense, but you have to place them exactly on top of each other, and I'm just bad at deciding the actual placement of the elevators. When I was doing the library build, I tried placing the elevators at the end of one of these staircases, and then it would end up on the second floor. The second floor would end up blocking the landing of the stairs. So yeah, I've always like kind of had a bit of a fight with elevators, but I think it's, now that I'm saying it out loud, probably more of a user error than anything else. But yeah, the elevators were one that I really fought with, and something that The Sims 3 doesn't do very well. And I would say The Sims 4 too is it doesn't do accessibility very well. Now, I'm not someone who's going to try to overthink it when we talk about accessibility, because I don't even have accessible parking lots that because I don't really like to download outside of the Sims 3 store, so accessible parking lots are non-existent in this game for me, at least. And I really wanted to take into account like somebody with a physical accessibility challenge, and that's why I wanted to place elevators in here, and that's why I placed elevators in the library central station build as well. I really wanted to take that into consideration, and even though like The Sims 3 doesn't do accessibility very well, it's also something like I'm not going to try to overthink, and I'm just going to work with the game mechanics as I have access to them in this case. So I wanted that elevator in here for that reason. It's also another reason why I placed this on flat ground, is because a lot of urban buildings are built directly on flat ground. A lot of them just don't have any, foundation that they sit on top of. And B, it also makes it a lot easier to tell the story that this spa can be used by someone who does have those accessibility challenges. So yeah, that was a big reason why I was prioritizing the elevators. And in truth, like if I had more space to work with on this lot, I would have probably found a way to do some sort of like a staircase as well, just for that, emergency exit kind of thing. So those are some considerations that I'm placing in here. So this building by no means is up to any kind of fire code standard. So, if a fire happens here, well, you better hope that the old town fire station will be waiting for the call. so yeah. On the lower levels, like I did divide this spa completely in half, by the way. And sorry, this isn't just for the lower levels, it's also for the upper levels as well. I decided to divide them in half, like doing his and her sides. And again, like Sims 3 was made 15 years ago, so there are certain elements that could be that would be considered outdated at this time and place. So again, I can only play with the game mechanics that I've got here that are hard-coded into the system, so I'm just going to roll with that. SimCity probably would have taken place like 15 years ago, or probably more. Like this would have been a spa that has likely been revamped and redone and all that. And I believe also modern day spas also have like those his and her sections as well. So, there's lots of real life examples to really take from. And in this case, like because I am limited by the game mechanics, and this was a choice that I wanted to create and emulate after real life spas, I just kind of went forward with that, making the differences between the two very minimal, so that both people, like both options, are serving the exact same services and decor style and all that. The only difference is just that there's a couple of doors in there. But when you get your lot, you can always just replace the doors if you are, if that is something that you feel is necessary. So that's the wonderful thing about uploading these lots and uploading this world, is that I am encouraging people to just kind of take it into their own hands and to create it as they wish. But yeah, I designed this one after a couple of real life spa inspirations. But yeah, moving on. What I really like about the spa and like what really helps it to stand out, like especially in the map view, is the longer pools. Like in my opinion, like I've never been like a huge fan of narrow pools until recently when I was going on a vacation in Mexico. I came across a narrow pool and I was like, this is actually kind of cool. So I changed my mind quite quickly, and so now they're popping up everywhere here and in the pool club. so yeah, that was something there. I didn't want to make these infinity pools, meaning that they're just kind of hanging out on the ledge there. I wanted to make these pools more centrally located. Not only do infinity pools look kind of odd in The Sims 3, but I also wanted to take privacy into account as well for this spa. One of the viewpoints that I really wanted to try to prioritize here is just kind of like, what would a pedestrian see if they are just walking by this building? In the last build, when we were working on the business tower and the science tower as well, I had mentioned that the central business district would be a very busy place for pedestrians to just kind of walk around, because I'm going to eventually build a plaza. Again, that plaza is not part of the spot build project that I kind of have going on here, but yeah, it would be a very busy place, and I would really think that there would be a strong case to make for a spa business to actually open up in this kind of a location with all that foot traffic, but also a place where that very same spa would have to prioritize privacy and what pedestrians would see just walking and looking at the building. That's why I really had a hard time selecting the windows that I ended up choosing, is because even though Master Suite came with these really great sort of privacy windows, I needed to also emulate that this was a modern architectural building. This building needed to have some funky windows, some big windows to say the very least. And where I was placing those was really just kind of anybody's guess. At the end, I just like had to throw caution to the wind, and I placed the windows where I did, which unfortunately just kind of looks into the locker rooms, but I feel like I didn't place anything in front of the windows that could work against that. This would never fly in real life, if I'm going to be honest, but I just kind of had to play the game because I felt like placing it in front of the actual spa services, like with the massage and all that, just completely defeats the purpose of getting a massage in a room. Or at least for me, like my own experiences is that the best massages that I've gotten always had like a really cozy ambience to it, and so bright windows were just really not going to add to that ambience. So I decided to make the decisions I decided to make, and yeah, so the windows, I mean, it was something I was aware of, but it was also something that I just felt couldn't be helped, because the windows really help to make the architectural design the way that it is. So, you know, I succeeded on one end but failed epically in another. And if you guys have a suggestion for an edit there, go for it. Sound off in the comments, because this would definitely be one that I would edit and try to maybe even do over again. The interior, though, is something that's pretty stellar. I love how the interior came together, don't get me wrong, but the actual structural architecture of this building was something that I just really, you know, I like it. I just like it. I'm not wowed by it. And now not everything needs to be a wow, needs to have a wow factor to it, but I just kind of feel like for the location that it's in and all that, that maybe it needs to be looked at again in some sort of an edit episode. And speaking of which, when I release SimCity and when I also release these lots as well for players to download, you know, if I go back and edit a lot, I will release a version 2 of something. So, you know, there is that. There is that that I will do, is that if players are interested in it, I'm more than happy to re-upload an edited lot with a version 2 if it's something that I ever changed at a later time. The Old Town edits were not a good example of this, because I knew at that time that by the time I released the SimCity world and the lots that I wanted to release with it, that, you know, I wouldn't ever need to do like a version 2 of those lots, if that made any sense. Like the timing wouldn't have been right. Whereas with this, there is an entire possibility that I'll release this lot and make it published as a V1 before, after I actually release the world and all that. I hope that's making some sense there. I think that my coffee might be wearing off today, so I do apologize if I'm just not making any sense there. Like I said, the interior I will absolutely stand by. Right now I'm kind of going through this resurgence. I guess I can thank the Crumple Bottom Chateau for this, but I'm kind of going through this thing where I am obsessed with neutrals. It would be something I would actually decorate my place in real life. But yeah, I am absolutely loving these neutrals, and these neutral like tones and palettes have been trending for the last like 3 or so years, and I am absolutely here for it. And I feel like that trend is something that will never go out of style. I think you can make anything look super nice with light, airy neutrals, and yeah, that was really the name of the game here. The wood elements were introduced with the spa and all that, and I just really love how the interior looks here, or at least I love the color scheme of it. No, I love all of the interior. I take that back. I'm giving myself more credit. I love the way that everything was designed and put into place here for the interior. Like with what I had to work with, it was something that I really wanted to make look as natural and as open and airy as I possibly can. It is reminiscent of the neutrals that I used with the Crumple Bottom Chateau, but don't worry, when I do some future builds and all of that, like I do plan on switching up the styles even more. I mean, I did a whole French colonial architectural building for a condo in Old Town. Like that was pretty that's not neutral at all by any means. I mean, the other one was doing like a more industrial build for the other condo. So yeah, I do absolutely plan to like visit certain periods of time as I decorate out these lots. But right now, really loving the neutral, airy palettes. I have really grown to love them, to say the very least. Like for example, like if I ever, when I do another apartment build, I might actually, or a house build in the Bridgeview starter neighborhood, I might actually build a house that's based on the 90s, for example. That would be kind of cool, and we've got the 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff pack installed, so it's not like it would be a complete stretch for me. But yeah, the interior here was really done well. The other thing with neutrals that you can do is when you have yourself a really nice neutral palette like this, and you would have seen this in the Crumple Bottom Chateau, is that you can just add like slight pops of color here and there. And I decided not to do it for this one, but I did add in some plants, which just kind of adds in that little pop of color just within the plants themselves. So yeah, I was very happy with the way things were decorated. I tried to involve more water and more fountains where I could, where I felt was appropriate. I might have you won't see it until towards the let me try that again. You won't see it until towards the end of the episode, but I might have overdone it with some of the fountains just in that reception area. I placed some fountains that came with the outdoor living stuff pack, and I feel like I love them, but I might just be taken away from the space. Because like with the neutral tones that I was using, it's really paired well with spacious areas. So yeah, that was just kind of some of my thought process there with that. Speaking of challenges in this build, one challenge here was really the pool, and I love the pool shape. I was just really not flexible when it came to redesigning the pools or anything of the sort, because I knew I just wanted something very angular, very square, and something that you can see from a distance, like when you're in the bird's eye view. So, and something symmetrical that can be matched on the other side as well. So yeah, the pools made things difficult, and you would have seen me several times now like redesign the hallways and redesign the actual changing rooms and the bathrooms and all of that, just because it wasn't something that I wanted to change. I really liked the pools when I first put them in, and I only did some minor changes here and there just to include a hot tub. A hot tub, which I feel makes complete sense to have in a spa, so I needed to just kind of adjust some things here and there. What makes pools challenging is just that they have that floor that they go through, right? So even hot tubs have that floor that they go through for their like hot tub mechanics, which I think is interesting. But at the same time inconvenient in some senses. I mean, in like the Crumple Bottom Chateau, when I placed the hot tub, where I ended up placing the hot tub at the end of that build, I had to delete the I had to delete the pipework that comes underneath it. So again, it's something that I actually enjoy in The Sims 3, but it's also something I've never really found a use for, and I've actually found to be more inconvenient. You know, just a note for myself here even, like you could place a hot tub and then have that mechanical undercarriage just kind of open into some sort of a janitor's closet, or even, you know, use those bits and pieces to like help decorate some sort of a boiler room or something. So there is, I just kind of talked myself into a place and a time to use it, but the only challenge there is just like really selecting a hot tub that would also work for your boiler room. So there's that. But yeah, in this case I just kind of left it because I was already blocking off the hallway for the pools anyways. And I also didn't want to put windows in the pools. I kind of feel like looking at the swimmers is sort of creepy in a way. So like, yeah, I decided not to do that in this case here. Again, privacy was something that I really wanted to try to highlight or to actually be conscious of throughout this build. And putting the windows in the walls as you walk down to your change room would just kind of feel a little awkward. So yes, to answer a question that might be playing at the back of your mind, this spa actually was intentionally built to look similar to the poolside club. And I decided to, well, the inspiration that I always took for the poolside club was spas. And now that I'm actually here building a spa, I really wanted to encapsulate that kind of look and feel again. So there are certain things that are similar in terms of themes, like specifically the color is really what's similar here. However, also the overhang awning that just hangs over the pool there is another point of similarity that I had with that poolside club as well. And yeah, that overhang will be something that I will continue to use as part of the design choice for future builds to come. So it's not like it's going to be something that will go away at the end of this build. But yeah, it was I really liked that overhang awning. I think it really does something nice in terms of like adds more intrigue. It adds that wood finish that I was really looking for. And most importantly, something that I think is underrated is that it actually casts some nice shadows here, and it just helps to make it come a little more alive. And it's kind of odd to actually want shadows in a place where you would expect there to be a lot of where you would hope that there would be a lot of sun, but it does it in a way that I think is just that doesn't block out the sun. Of course, it's more there as part of a design. I mean, there are people like way back when that probably do it now even, that actually get suntans, and they put like little designs on themselves for when they go tanning and stuff. So, you know, not that that was kind of the idea here, but I don't know why I even mentioned that. But yeah, it's like the building's version of that, I suppose. I will talk a little bit about what's coming up next for our next spot build. So I mentioned that we are just kind of doing this seemingly randomly, just building some lots that are that need to be built in order for people's worlds to function. And again, way I'm exporting my world, and if you're kind of getting a little annoyed with me reminding you, there might be people that are new to the channel or that are not watching all of the episodes. So I'd like to just kind of remind everyone every episode or chance I get. But yeah, when I export SimCity, it's being exported with empty lots, and then I'm uploading the lots separately so that people can choose to import the lots into their own worlds. The reason why I'm doing that is because it'll be easier for people to download the world itself, which I think is the more important file. And also, it also gives players and it encourages players to really just make the SimCity world their own, which is what I'm hoping for in terms of a vision there. But yeah, right now I'm just doing some spot building, so just building out lots that I think are essential to make a world function. So that's adding in some rabbit holes here and there, some functional lots. This one was desperately needed because if you don't have a bookstore, how are you going to get all those books to learn your skills and recipes and so on and so forth? So this was a very essential build there. But the next spot build that we will be doing is going to be a grocery store build. And that build is going to sit in the Uptown neighborhood. So with the way that I built out SimCity and Create a World, the downtown and central business district is essentially just like one block, and then one block south is the Midtown neighborhood. And I think I just called it Midtown. I think I just called the grocery store an Uptown build, but it might actually be a Midtown build. I have to go back and fix that anyway. So the grocery store is going to be on the way, and it will actually serve as a standalone episode, surprisingly. And I will explain that in the next speed build episode that I do, why it ended up being its own episode. It's essentially when it comes to my episodes, it's the length of time that it takes for me to create where I will designate whether I want it to be a standalone episode or if I want to make it a double feature. I mean, the last episode was a great example of that, where I did all of the work for the business tower lot, and then all I had to do was make some small adjustments and place the signs building on top of the platforms for the second lot. So it made more sense to make it a double feature than a standalone episode. Same thing with the stadium and the hospital builds. The stadium, literally, I just placed it, rotated it a couple of times. I liked it where it was, threw down a subway stop and called it a day. And then did the hospital build. So it made more sense as a double feature there. So yeah, next episode is actually a standalone build with the grocery store. And grocery stores are very necessary because you need them to buy ingredients. If you play the Seasons expansion pack, then you can buy fireworks from the grocery store. It's there's a lot that you can get from the grocery store, so that's why I'm really excited to finally get that built out here. In terms of like how that turns out and all that jazz, you'll just have to watch that episode to find out. Don't know why I'm unnecessarily teasing. It just kind of came out as verbal diarrhea, I suppose. But yeah, I should mention here that because the downtown, uptown, and downtown, midtown, and uptown neighborhoods pretty much have all of their buildings on a north-south orientation, they will have laneways, and when they all start, like when I start actually getting each of these buildings built out, like when I get an entire block built out, the alleyways and the parking lots and all that is going to make more sense. And that's just kind of what we're seeing here, is that there is a lot that immediately sits just south of the bookstore and the day spa and all of that. And I plan on building on that lot and also continuing on with the laneway or alleyway themes that I have been using throughout. As I close off this episode, when it comes to alleyway construction and all that, right now I am just kind of doing parking lots here and there. It really does depend on the form of the lot and what it ends up as, so that's why I've left it for last. And that's probably what I'll end up doing for all future speed build episodes that do have an alleyway or a laneway to actually construct. I also just wanted to take a brief moment to mention that I am keeping the sidewalks at a certain width as well. So that's why you would have seen me adjust the actual day spa and bookstore rabbit hole building a little bit. It's just that I was able to get that same width on the sidewalk there. I think I wanted it as 4 squares width all the way around for all the places that just kind of touch the actual road sidewalk. And that's something that I plan to continue to do for the urban builds throughout until we actually get to the Bridge View Starter neighborhood, where that just has to change its form just a tiny bit, only because that's when I actually get to introduce some single family homes. And yes, I will have one of those single family homes or starter homes up as one of the spot builds, since I think it is important for players to have like a starter built home for their world. That's another episode for another time. But yeah, that is going to about do it for today's episode. If the tours aren't already playing, then feel free to stick around for those. I took lots of pictures of the spa, so there's a lot more interior shots since, I mean, the last episode's tour was just exterior shots, since that was all I could show, since there's nothing within the platforms that I could actually show off, and it was just two rabbit holes placed side by side each other. The skyline is really starting to look better now, so I'm very happy with the way that is all turning out, and I just can't wait until it's all completely built out, because I do plan to have it to taper down in density and all that as we get further south and all that. And you'll see that in the next build, in the grocery store build, because I taper down the density, so I'm kind of forced to in a way, but also it made more sense to do so there on that particular lot. Anyways, I just want to take a brief moment here to thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the series, if you've been enjoying these speed builds, feel free to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. There's a lot more to go from this, and once I'm done finishing the spot builds, I can't wait to finally fully build out some more neighborhoods outside of Old Town and the government campus. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.